Welcome to our webinar, ESEF Reporting. My name is Goran Kristovic and I'm an account manager at Adedo. I'm working since 4 years at Adedo. I'm responsible for the DACH region, and in the webinar is also my colleague Dominic. So before we start, I would like to inform you that you are all on mute. You are welcome to ask us questions after the live demo. Below we will find a bubble with Q&A. Here you can please write your questions. This webinar will be recorded. We will send you the recording webinar and the presentation the next few days. The webinar lasts about 30 minutes. Good. Okay. Dominic, it's your stage. Thank you.
Thank you, Goran. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, my name is Dominic Di Grande. I'm the product manager for Talentia CPM. I've been for quite some time a consultant at Adedo, and I took over that product manager role almost 1 year ago. The objective of today is to do a kind of wrap up of what happened last year regarding the ESEF mandate that European companies has to comply with, and we'll then have a look in more detail on our solution and why we believe that disclosure management is a wider subject, and ESEF reporting is just a piece of that. And we'll also do a demonstration to see the different elements that needs to be covered in order to have a holistic solution. So I won't dive into all details about what ESEF is, because it's a very known subject, and there were a lot of discussions in the last 18 months about what it is and what has to be done. Maybe just a reminder why ESEF is somehow a challenging subject is that there is a collaboration at European level between different entities. The ESMA, who is really working on the standard itself, the IFRS Foundation, who is working on the taxonomy, and the XBRL organization, who provides the XBRL standards, which will then be derived in all countries in order to be adapted to the local regulator expectations. So from that perspective, because of all these different parties, it can be challenging. Beside the challenge, that also means that it is a super important subject in Europe, and then it's not a one-shot investment, but that it will last for many, many years, and that the objectives are very high. So to summarize a little bit where we are, I think the XBRL Europe organization does that very well. They did it a few days ago in April to give an update, and the update was actually that the mandate has been postponed in many countries except Germany and Austria, and maybe one or two other countries in Europe, but for all other countries it has been postponed 1 year. So the companies can disclose electronically, but are not compelled to. In Germany, they were compelled to. So we see here the result. Approximately 100 companies did disclose their financial statements. And we see also that 75% approximately decided not to invest on an internal solution, because they wanted to test first how all that would work. And what has been noticed is that First of all, there is some challenge, and second, in the future, it would be better to have an internal solution rather than to rely on external solutions, because for the 5 statements, it's not too difficult, but once we'll have the nodes and the rest, it may become a little bit more challenging. So about the process itself, we firmly believe, and this is probably not how it has been done in Germany, that the process should start with building the extended taxonomy, working on the extensions, working on the different calculations that are needed for your specific company, but are not provided by the taxonomy. And only then build the narrative report on top of that. And the approach that was probably the easiest one and privileged in the last 12 months was a document first approach, but we really believe that the sustainable solution is a report first approach, where you first work on the taxonomy. And there are several reasons for that. The first one is that working with the five statements was not so challenging, but adding all the notes in the coming years will be already some kind of additional challenge in order to have everything inside the report reconciled properly. And also, and this was not in June, but not in sorry, in May, but it was the one before. The XBRL Europe already started a work group in order to integrate in the future the ESG topic as well, because obviously being able to tag properly everything that is related to ESG will give a little bit more transparency into that very important topic for the future. So you see that it's not only about financial information, but soon, once the nodes and everything will be tagged, we will move to non-financial information as well. And from that perspective, it's good to have a robust technical solution to support the process. So at Talentia, we firmly believe that it's great to have a platform to provide numbers, narratives, through that electronic channel, but that doesn't mean that all the other channels don't need to be covered. And having the same platform with a centralized database storing all the numbers and the narratives and managed by a functional department, often the finance department, is the right way to move forward, because it will give you the expected flexibility and the possibility to push all those different information through different channels easily, without mistakes and without having a too high workload, because this is also the challenge when you have to provide all these type of reports. Is if you have once the workload and then it's automated, it's fine. If you have the workload every time you have to produce a report, then it's really a challenge at the end. So I mentioned it already before. The idea is to have a single platform that provides a central database storing all the information, financial, non-financials, quantitative information, as well as qualitative narrative information. And all this being managed by functional team, finance or other, but no need to rely on complex technical tools like ETL and things like that. Everything is in the control of a single organization. Obviously, collaboration can be organized around, but no need for technical resources. So one very important piece of functionality, but I won't go into all the details, is to be able to have the dimensional model inside the database as flexible as needed by the organization. So if you need a product dimension, you have to be able to add it. If you need to have a geographical dimension, you have to be able to add it. If you need additional attributes on, I don't know, customer or product, you have to be able to add all attributes needed in order to be able all kind of reports based on what is stored in the database. And this is very important. Another important point that I will now highlight in the demonstration is that to be efficient as fast as possible and to be able to leverage what has already been developed using Excel, Word, I mean the Office suite to do the design is a strong lever to be efficient fast. However, everything that is related to numbers has to be stored centrally in the database. So this is a little bit the philosophy of the product that I will demonstrate now. Maybe just let me use that last slide to help you follow up what I'm going to demonstrate. So the beginning of the demonstration is really about the database and the different tool to build the initial output objects. So as I mentioned before, Excel and Word. So this looks like that. In the application, you have obviously what we call structure, and this is where we are going to store all information coming from your different sources, Excel files, consolidation systems, external information related to ESG, and so on and so on. So this can be stored here easily in what we call the extensible structure and can be loaded automatically through different processes, all integrated in the tool and covered by the tool. Once this is done, you can start designing all the, let's say, quantitative objects. So you have mainly here tables and charts. So if I open one to give you an example, it looks like that. So as I mentioned before, the design tool is Excel. So here you see that you just have your traditional Excel file. And this is interesting because you can here just import all your models that are already existing. You can just organize them by tabs. What will change is that the cell here is not anymore referring to another Excel cell or is not a Excel formula, but is referring to a database field. And the database field is defined by the control panel that you see here on the right. So on the first sheet, you define the overall context of the whole file, saying that, okay, in that specific file, I only have a year-to-date information. You see, but I have a default value, which is the second quarter of 2018. However, I want to use that category as a filter, a dynamic filter when I execute the report. So this is on the sheet level. And then on the cell level, I can say, okay, that specific cell here, you have to look up, where is it? You have to look up a specific indicator. Oh, sorry, I'm not in the right cell. On that specific cell, I have to look up a specific indicator coming from. So here are different options coming from my chart of account. Then it would be an account, or coming from another hierarchy where I would store, for example, all my KPIs, and then it could be a non-financial KPI that I can integrate in my sheet like that. So obviously, if I move to another row, you will see that I will have another indicator available. And I will do that for all my statements, for all my notes, and I could also build charts out of that. So this is the first step, and it's very important to remember that you can reuse everything that is designed, and you just have to do the mapping with what is stored in the database. So once this is done, the second step would be to integrate all those quantitative information inside a complete narrative document, because obviously the combination of both is really what is expected, or by external stakeholders or by internal stakeholders. Oh, sorry, I'm here in execution mode, so this is something I will do later on. So here, again, the design environment is again the office environment, and as you see, I can reuse again what I've prepared from a design perspective, but here I will replace all the fields that are dynamic by information coming from my database. So I see here that the field mark 1 is referring to a database element, which is the business year code. So this is a classical way of using the bookmark. Then for a table or a chart, I don't want to rebuild everything here in Excel, in Word, because I already built it before in my Excel document. And so I refer to a specific Excel workbook. I can refer to a specific worksheet, and then I can mention a named cell or a hard-coded cell here, and I can tell the system I want to execute this as an image or as a Word table if I want to change the information later on in the finalized work document. So this is how it works. So you have 3 layers: the narrative in Word, the design of table and chart in Excel, and the database that is storing all the information. So you can obviously preview it here, but I will show you it how it looks like maybe once it's published in a kind of workflow. So here I have a workflow where I can say, okay, now let's execute that specific Excel report, because I want to see the result. I want to work on the numbers. I want to add comments and so on and so on. And here I still have the template, and I have again the control panel, but this time the control panel is not showing me all the options, but it's just showing me the few filters that I can select to execute my Excel report. So here I have the filters. I execute my Excel report, and you see he gets populated with all the numbers for that specific period of time. So this is the first layer. Now, if I close that layer and I run the annual report that we saw before, again, he will ask me for the context for the whole report, which also will be the context for the different objects coming from Excel. And here he will execute the complete end-to-end process. So here you see that I have the result is the report. For each element that has been replaced, I have a comment telling me, okay, this is coming from the database, and this specific element. And if I go down, I see here for the table where he tells me this is coming. No, sorry, this here is coming also from the database, but first is imported into the Excel report W400, and it is produced as an image and integrated in the final Word document. So this is now for traditional disclosure management. So what we have built for ESEF is the following. So what we saw was that piece. And for ESEF, we said, okay, everything is already available from a narrative perspective and from a number perspective. So let's reuse that. So we decided to, step one, reuse the Excel design to import the taxonomy and do the tagging. Then step two, we produce the IXBRL statements. Step three, we use the narrative document in order to produce all the XHTML that is not tagged yet, or everything that is narrative, and we merge the two together in order to have a single XHTML with the statements containing the tagging in a single document that we then zip and can be sent out to the local regulator. So this is what I'm going to show you now. We follow exactly the same philosophy than before. So if I take my report here, I'll already take a tagged report because the time is somehow flowing a little bit. So this is the same report as before, where I find my different statements. So the balance sheet, the P&L, the OCI report, the cash flow report, and so on and so on. And again, obviously, I have the control panel to execute it like I had before. But beside that, I have also an additional control panel that is here to help me tag what I developed before. So here you see we try always to follow the same philosophy in order to have the people really have the easiest process to be learned. So here, again, how does it work? First of all, you have the IFRS taxonomy in the different languages. We just loaded those, but obviously we can load all the languages that are available with the taxonomy. Then you can navigate the taxonomy. You can search the taxonomy. And beside that, you can create a grid like we have here, and that grid helps you then to do the tagging. So here we see that we decided to tag that specific row, and to tag that specific row, we did the following. We said, okay, this specific row is linked to the goodwill element that you will find here in the taxonomy. So you can obviously delete it, you can change it, you can make it an extension if you want. And then you have all the different options about the extension, making it a wider or a narrow extension, or making it a calculation. So these are all the different options that are available. Okay, it's a little bit too much for today, but I mean, this is how it works. And this is the report we provide out of the box in the French starter kit here. And so you can start and use that as an example if you want. And in fact, once all the tagging is done, you just need to come here in the submission process. And here in the submission process, you have different steps. The first step, as I mentioned, is where you are going to generate the extension taxonomy. Then once you have the extension taxonomy, you can ask to generate the iXBRL documents. What is very important is that we use a certified iXBRL engine, so you have all the logs available in order to validate that all the assertions that are expected by the taxonomy from IFRS are respected. So this is for the let's say auditor. He can see here that there are no error, and then all the assertions are satisfied. He gets exactly the same type of log report for all the calculation that you have created. So you can also, sorry, let me right click on that. Oh yeah, sorry, here is it. Okay, so you get a trace of all the calculation that you have been developing in your extended taxonomy, and so you can really follow up on that trace, what is going on from a calculation perspective. And so this is the second step. And then in my system here, we are missing the third step, which is the production of the narrative report in XHTML merged with statements. But this will be available now in 2 weeks. So just to finalize the discussion, so starting point, the database, then developing the quantitative and qualitative reports that you can push inside your organization, then moving to the tagging and transforming everything that is PDF, Word, or Excel into the XHTML package as expected. And at the end, you can also use then the Word report to produce high fidelity reporting by importing it in InDesign, for example. And also something that can be interesting is that when we produce the XHTML narrative report here, we split it between the CSS file and the pure XHTML file, meaning that if you want to create an interactive website out of it, you can just apply your own CSS and create an interactive HTML site out of that. So you see that with one single platform managed by finance, you can really cover all your today needs and all your future needs by also being compliant if you have to comply with the ESEF mandate. So I'm already a little bit late, so I don't want to go in all details about what value it brings, because I somehow already mentioned it during the presentation. But I mean, obviously, having a single database centralizing all information removes the risk of mistakes. Having such an automated process makes you win a lot of time. So, I mean, these are obvious elements that you will probably already have noticed during the presentation. So this is for me. I think we are not too bad with the timing. I would now stop my presentation here. And if there are some questions, I'm happy to answer the questions. So Goran, do we have questions, or are we too late already?
Yes, we're too late, Dominic, but thank you very much for the demo and the presentation. As already I mentioned, we will send you the presentation and the recording webinar in the next few days. You are welcome to forward them to your colleagues. If you have any question, please contact us. You will find our contact details in the presentation. So yeah, this was our webinar. Thank you very much for your attending, and yeah, we wish you a nice day. And yes, bye bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.